Hi guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Liz and I'm a medical technologist and a pharmaceutical chemist with over 30 years of experience in the pharmaceutical medical device industry and in the healthcare sector. Today I want to talk about, again, the sugar diet. But in particular, I want to look at a video that was produced by the person who actually started all of this. I think there's maybe a couple of people, but he's, I think, the main guy who was pushing this diet. And I want to be fair about all of this because there's a lot of people that are freaking out. I think they've been saying things that he's not claiming, which is not fair. If you don't claim something, he does not say that he's thinking that eating sugar for the rest of your life all the time is a good idea. As far as I know, he's never stated that, and in this video that we're about to look at, he doesn't say it there either. But I wanted to give this a fair shake because it's a very reasonable video that he does to clarify his position. Now, I don't agree with a lot of what he's saying, well, part of what he's saying, and there is a lot of caveats that I think need to be added to this, a lot of warnings that need to be added to this just because of what we do know if you consume sugar on a regular basis. I did not just listen to some random person or even some doctor on the internet that told me to do carnivore and then I just went and did it. So I have been a carnivore since 2022, November, and it has been the diet that did all the things that nothing else would do. And I have tried everything, but that's my case. That's for me. So I just want to be fair about how this is reported. I do think still it is a fairly dangerous thing to be just casually promoting. So I think it's something that we need to look at right here on Carnivore Science Channel. Okay, so this is his channel, Mark Smelly Bell. I don't know why he's calling himself Smelly, but anyway, I don't follow this person, but he used to be a lot bigger. I do know that. There are clips of him in this upcoming video that show what he used to look like. He was, I think, a power lifter. So the video I'm interested in looking at today is this one, the Sugar Fasting Explained, the Smelly Protocol Unveiled. If you want people to do something, I don't know if calling it a smelly protocol is actually the best marketing tactic, but hey, to each his own. So let's take a look at this.
Mark Smelly Bell here. A lot of people are making...
Did he just... I gotta see that again.
Mark Smelly Bell here.
He did. He just smelled like... Okay. All right, okay. This is weird.
Mark Smelly Bell here. A lot of people are making videos about sugar fasting and they don't know what they're talking about. Too many people are trying to bring science to it. The human body is not meant to be scienced. It's a work of art. It's the greatest, bestest thing that we have on this planet. By far, it's the greatest technology that we have.
I agree and disagree with him on that one. So it's the bestest. First of all, that's not proper English, but it is endearing. So the guy has charisma. I'll give him that. So I kind of agree. Everybody seems to think, and I'm a scientist, so coming from me, everybody seems to think that we know everything. We know everything about the human body, and we know everything about all the metabolic pathways, and we just know everything. That's not true. He's right about your brain is some of the greatest software ever invented. I mean, and hardware. We've got limitations, obviously. Not all research is corrupt, and not all research is biased by special interest or big food or big pharma. A lot of it is. And our institutions are actually overrun by lobbyists and special interest groups and things like that. And we do have a problem trying to figure out what's true and what's false. Even the people doing the research, they run with it before it's really that well established. And a lot of this has to do with, how do you control the variables? In a study, you want to control everything. So you have the people who are their own little chaotic system, right? And then you have the foods, which are another chaotic system, and you're putting it all together and trying to come to determinations. I think this is the reason there's so much confusion in the nutrition space, or one of the reasons. So he's got a point when it comes to us being a work of art, so to speak. So I kind of agree with him there. Not completely, because the things that we have figured out, we figured it out, and we figured it out a while ago, and we're not wondering if that certain things are still true. So
It's what we have right here, what we have on the inside. We always try to study it, and we scratch our heads and we're confused because it's not meant for over-analyzation. It is a work of art. It's an amazing phenomenon, this human body that we have. We're talking about sugar fasting. People want to bring up FGF21. They want to bring up all these other things. And they hyper-focus in on, they start looking over here, and they're missing all this other stuff over here. Yes, FGF1 is induced when...
So he's talking about the FGF21, which is a messenger molecule. I did a video about one of the mechanisms that I believe has a lot to do with the reason people are losing weight on sugar fasting. So FGF21, I believe, has been fairly well established. When you look at the history of how they've been tracking that, it's one of those things that I believe are pretty solid. So it's okay to explain the science, and we need to understand how our bodies work. But we also have to keep in mind that we don't know everything. That's very important.
It could be amplified with fructose, and that could be of more benefit potentially when you're on this diet. Protein seems to be a disruptor of FGF21. So these are all things to be aware of. Fat might slow down the whole process. We're talking about weight loss as well. So sugar fasting is honey, maple syrup, sugar, candy, fruit, and fruit juice. That's sugar fasting, straight sugar fasting. That's it. People keep asking, well, what about when I add protein at night? Well, what it means is that you did sugar fasting during the day, and then you stopped it at night by having your protein, which is what I do on some days.
So he's explaining here that really the sugar diet is a misnomer. And I used it as well, just because it's people are just phrasing it that way. This is a sugar fasting protocol. It's where you don't do anything but consume sugar. It's similar to, well, not similar to in nature, but the fat fasting that I do it for health purposes, and I do it for how I feel. And I also do it for if I want to lose a few pounds, like, because I've got maybe 5 pounds or something I'm looking to lose at the end. I did a fat fast to lose a little chunk of it. I don't have much left. So personally that I want to lose, but it's a fast. When you look at diet, it's a little bit of a misnomer, to be fair. It is a sugar fasting protocol. So this is what he's explaining here, is the difference between fasting versus obviously a forever diet.
I used to be 330 pounds. I was a power lifter. Squatted 1,080, benched 854, deadlifted 766. You can look it all up. I was huge. I was massive. And even with, people always want to bring steroids into the whole picture. And of course, they are a factor. I'm not going to say that they're not. This is a factor for me, and maybe it's not a factor for some other people because maybe they're not using them. And so maybe they have to have that in consideration when they're thinking about this diet, or any other diet for that matter. But even me, who's on performance-enhancing drugs, still, you know what I lost? When I lost all that weight, I lost a shit ton of fat, and I lost some muscle.
So one thing I can say that I appreciate is honesty, especially about taking performance enhancing drugs, steroids, and things like that. Because a lot of people lie about that. There's a lot of people that lie about they look like this, like he does, and they're like, no, I don't ever take any kind of anything, and a lot of them do, and at least he's honest. So I got to give him credit for that. If you're losing a ton of weight, you're still going to lose. You still lose some muscle no matter what kind of diet you do. So fair point.
It doesn't matter if you Ozempic or if you use any diet strategy that's out there. All of them, they all will result in you losing some muscle mass. Now, there are ways to mitigate it, and there's a lot of great videos on that. I'm not going to get into it too in depth here, but your training stimulus is huge. Your training stimulus is paramount. So like a lot of times when they do these studies, like they'll just study rodents, they'll just study mice. And mice are these little tiny, little fidgety little fuckers, and they have really fast heart rates. And when you're testing them, there's things that people aren't aware of. Like maybe people don't know that a rat or mouse, they can't like fast very long, because it's the equivalent. Like if they fasted for 4 hours, that might be the equivalent of a human fasting for like 24 hours, something like that. I'm probably exaggerating, but
I don't do animal studies. Not a fan. I know they have to exist, but I've never done that type of research, so I can't attest to whether or not that's true or false. But the physiology, I know, is vastly different. So a lot of times there are studies on animals, and people just automatically go, well, like, that's exactly the way it's going to do in a human. It's not true. You can gain a lot of information by doing animal studies, and you can come to a lot of different conclusions, but you can't absolutely just say they're equivalent, because it's not. It's definitely not. So valid point again. And again, if someone's making a good point, I'm going to say, yep, that's true.
We talk science on my podcast. I interviewed Anabology, the guy who's basically the creator. He made the honey diet, and a lot of the stuff that he's talking about, you know, he is bringing some science to it, because it's like, hey, after the.
Did you know that honey is bee vomit? I think that's so funny, because Ken Berry is the one that was talking about that. I never realized that, but he always calls honey bee vomit, which it just cracks me up. I'm sorry. I just had to interject that there.
The fact, let's figure out why this is working. However, let's not try to look at the science as an excuse to be fat. Let's not look at science as an excuse to not try stuff. How many of you heard that cardio? How many of you heard that cardio can make you lose muscle? That's how fucking fat we are in this country. To where you have people that are against people going to a gym and doing some cardio. I understand what they're saying. The signal's not great, and it may not be the most effective way.
That's hilarious. I think that is funny. It's true. It's like you'll have someone that's 500 pounds and, you know, they want to do something, and it's like, well, what's worse, being 500 pounds or trying something that's not ideal for, like, I don't know, just the level of perfection people try to reach. Like, everything has to be perfect, and you never can hear anything bad about anything. So I understand that. They do that with carnivore. It's like, anything that might be a negative for carnivore, it's like, or anything that might point to it, it's like, well, you know, but it's a way, if you're able to eat meat and you weigh, say you're 400 pounds overweight and you want to try it, and they're like, yeah, but it's like, well, what do you think's going to happen to you if you stay 500 pounds? So I understand the irony of this. This is pretty funny. So
again, when we talk about sugar fasting, or we talk about any version of sugar fasting that might be slightly modified, we're talking about a diet that can really pull a lot of weight off of people, and that people should give a chance to. They should give it a shot, regardless of what they're hearing from their favorite influencer about science of this or that. We already know that the answer to everything always lies in the middle, right? It always lies in the middle every single time. We go too far keto, we go too far carnivore, we go too far vegan, we go too far this way, too far that way, shoot. Answer's in the middle. You could even say that about politics. These guys over here probably have some good ideas. These guys over here probably have some good ideas. But these guys out here have shit ideas that aren't probably great.
The problem is that healthy people aren't trying this. People who need to lose the weight, who are going to try the sugar fasting protocol, are most likely metabolically sick. Most Americans are, you know, a lot of them are pre-diabetic. without even knowing it. So I think that that's something that you have to think about really carefully before you actually try any of this. In today's world, the knowledge we do have, and we know that plants are slap full of toxins, full of toxins. We know sugar is detrimental to do for a long term. We also know that if you're diabetic or you're pre-diabetic, you should not touch sugar with a 10-foot pole. It will make you sick. It will cause a lot of health problems. So if you lose a big chunk of weight doing this protocol, but then you create health problems with it, it's not a zero-sum game.
I see a lot of people in the comment section saying, why not just try a balanced diet? Well, the reason why we're not having a balanced diet is because we are way off balance, in case you haven't noticed, in case you haven't seen it. I think it's like 50% of the population is like diabetic. I think they think that half the population will have what they're calling now type 3 diabetes, dementia, Alzheimer's. Like that's insane. We're not.
One of the reasons that this type 3 diabetes is a little ironic he's bringing this up is because glycation plays a big role. And the reason that they're seeing this type 3 diabetes that's causing dementia and things like that is because of insulin resistance and high amounts of insulin that are just in the blood constantly because of all of this excessive sugar consumption. And so that, I was surprised that he even brought that up, honestly.
So a diet like this comes along where people are really enjoying like a lot of success from it. You see a lot of negative feedback. I think that negative feedback is understandable because we want to try to do stuff with the best possible educated guess that we can have, and then we want to move forward from there. But sugar fasting is working great for a lot of people, and I just want to encourage people to just give it a damn shot, and you might find out it doesn't work well for you. Maybe you don't like it, or maybe you don't like that much fruit, or whatever. Maybe you don't like that much sweet stuff.
So one point that I think is important here is that when you actually are looking for the best diet for you, you do have to try a lot of things. Again, I think depending on your health situation, you need to check your markers before you try this one, I think. And you need to assess whether or not you're a food addict. You've got a lot of things you got to look at before you would try something like this because of what it is. But that goes for anything. Like he was talking about Ozempic. I wouldn't recommend Ozempic. I wouldn't recommend a sugar fast. I wouldn't recommend Ozempic really wouldn't recommend Ozempic because of the side effects and the fallout. I mean, what it's doing to your system is egregious. After people go off of Ozempic, they gain all the weight back times 10. A lot of them go blind. You have different cancers, different effects on the thyroid, just really horrible pharmaceutical fallout. So I'm all for trying different diets, though, because I had to do that to get here. Again, I didn't listen to somebody tell me, hey, this is the best, just believe what I say, blah, blah, blah. I had to try a lot of different things, and I found out for myself, firsthand knowledge. I don't have to take anybody's word for it. I know exactly how these other things made me feel, and I know what I got a benefit out of and what actually was detrimental to me. So if you don't try it, you don't know. But again, there are dangers associated with this. It's depends on your situation and how metabolically sick you are at the time. So
but a lot of people are missing that this is a fast. It's a fast. It's sugar fasting. It's sugar fasting. It's a fast. It's not necessarily just a full-on diet plan. Although you can turn it into a diet plan if you start to titrate more balance to it. Then you might have something you can do for a long time.
So here, to be fair, the sugar diet is what this is called. Again, people are just diet. They're just calling it that, right? But he's recommending a fast. The way he's presenting this, he's presenting it as a tool you can use to rapidly lose weight at different points as you need it. So to be fair, people are not representing this properly, at least on his end. I don't know if there could be other influencers who are saying, hey, you can eat sugar every day all the time for the rest of your life, and that's just what you eat, and you won't ever gain any weight or something stupid like that. But I don't know of them. But again, I don't follow him, and I haven't seen all of his videos. I've just seen, enough about this to kind of get a handle on what his deal is.
protocol that I'm doing right now is just what I'm doing right now. It's a protocol. I'm going to use it for a period of time, and then I'm going to move on to doing something slightly different. Ultimately, as I said about 9 million times, I'm probably going to do some sort of macro cycling at the end of this, where I mix and match some different things together and still end up being able to manage my body weight, potentially through calories, or potentially I'll just do it through sugar fast. Another thing that people are missing when they're trying to pull out these stuff.
I will say I talked about in a previous video metabolic confusion or metabolic stressing, where you actually, if you're normally, you found a diet plan that you like, or you found a, I'll say food lifestyle, and you eat certain types of things, changing up what you're doing from time to time can have some benefit. But again, you have to be careful how you do it. It depends on what you're doing. Now, if you change, say you're carnivore and you know that vegetables inflame you, and you actually go to inflammatory vegetables and from time to time, that would be dumb. Like, you know that hurts you, don't do that. There's no benefit to that. But, you know, just in different ways. Or whether or not you go to a water fast, you jump from water fast, or you introduce some carbohydrates or something like that. Now, there's benefit, I think, to that, because that goes back to our ancestry and the fact that we were not marinated in grocery stores and Circle K's back in our previous years as humans. So sometimes we would feast, sometimes there was famine, sometimes we would eat different things. That is true. I think we were primarily carnivores, because that's my channel, Carnivore Science. I mean, I had to come to these conclusions from doing a lot of research.
Pull out these studies about when somebody has exposure to long-term FGF21 and so forth. It's not specific enough to what we're talking about.
My concern with the sugar fasting protocol is not FGF21. That's interesting to kind of look at what pathways are activated when you're doing something like this. It's interesting what they're saying about long-term exposure. That is not the reason that I think that this is in general a bad idea. It's because everybody's metabolically sick, and if you eat processed sugar, you're going to get sicker, period. So I think for certain people, if they want to use this as a tool, it's a different story. But in general, everybody's so sick and everybody's so fat that I think this could cause additional problems. That was my problem with it, in a nutshell.
A lot of times these studies are done with the calories being normal, or with the calories being reduced. And even when people try these things, they're trying to do it in a caloric deficit. This is not a diet where you're trying to deliberately be in a caloric deficit. In fact, you want to eat. You want to get after it with your food. Nothing crazy in abundance. It doesn't have to be anything ludicrous.
I think whether you're in a caloric deficit, a lot of people believe you have to be in a caloric deficit for this sugar protocol to work, and a lot of people believe that you shouldn't be. But I think it depends on, again, each person is another chaotic system. You can't really have a blanketed approach in this case. The way that people metabolize sugar and handle it has an impact. How your system works and how metabolically sick or healthy you are makes a difference.
And the more that you stick with fruit, honey, maple syrup, the more that you stick with those types of things, probably the safer it's going to be. Like, let's be rational about that too.
So I like that he is saying that, you shouldn't live off of Jolly Ranchers and stuff like that, because he's saying, like honestly, who believes that that's a good idea? So he's being honest about that. I think that maple syrup, though, I know that that's kind of if you look at things that come from nature, it's like real maple syrup, okay, but, it's pretty syrupy and pretty, I can't imagine. And I guess they're drinking it or something, because they can't eat pancakes, because they can't do anything but pure sugar. So what are they doing with the maple syrup? I don't want to know.
Like, just downing candy all day is not going to be a great idea. Blasting your insulin and your glucose all day, every day, probably not a great idea. That's not anything that I'm...
Probably, you can get rid of the probably in that sentence, but he's saying it's probably not a good idea. Now, I think that he doesn't go far enough, though. I think that his warnings need to be more stark and need to be more obvious and clearly dictated here. I think that he needs to be very clear about who absolutely does not need to do this diet.
But I've been seeing a lot of these videos that are trying to shoot this thing down. I think there's a lot of jealousy going on, and there's also, I think there's money on the line for people. People have apps.
Oh, that's true. That's true. A lot of people make their money promoting one. I mean, a lot of people have channels where they're saying, you know, oh, this is the best way, and they have products that they push and things like that. I mean, that's anything.
People have these little diet tricks they do. Oh, you're not losing weight as fast as you normally would. It's because your cortisol levels are high. It's not because my program is faulty.
A lot of these people will go to these places, they'll pay all this money to be on these weight loss plans, and then they won't do what the protocol says. And so then they're like, well, it's not working. And so instead of the place that's getting paid pissing the person off and saying, well, it's obvious, you know, if you've gained 30 pounds and you've been allegedly eating 700 calories a day or whatever these extreme plans are, that can't happen. You had to be eating something. So instead of saying that to them, it's like, oh, your cortisol, oh, are you under stress? Oh, do you sleep enough? And all of that contributes to it, but not to that level. So he's right about that. There's a lot of times, but the cortisol is a thing. Sleep is a thing. All these are things, but I understand what he's saying about people pushing agendas and stuff like that. So just fair point.
The reason why these coaches have to do so much of this moving around and maneuvering around is oftentimes because their clients will stall and they'll have to keep shifting them around. This plan is something that you can utilize anytime that you stall. You don't have to rely on a coach. You don't have to rely on an app. You don't have to count calories. You don't have to track anything. You don't have to purchase anything. You just...
He's got a point here, is that just like a fat fast or a fast or a water fast, that helps stalling. Any kind of fast like that, typically, and not all people, just because of the nature of, especially when you're talking about the sugar diet and the way people metabolize fats, proteins, the way they handle food. In general, fasting is the best way to kick you out of a stalled diet where you're not losing anymore. When you start losing weight, and this is universal, when you are huge and you have like 300 pounds to lose or 100 pounds to lose or whatever, you lose weight at a quick pace if you actually follow a plan that is working for you. And then when you get close to your goal line, you get really frustrated. When you get about down to that last 20 pounds, you get really pissed off because it's just the hardest to lose. The big bulk of the weight is easier to lose. And this is just common knowledge amongst any kind of weight loss plan.
Implement sugar fasting and you'll be able to drop some weight. What's hazardous about it? If there's anything hazardous about it, maybe it's the fact that, like, if someone was to do it for 50 days and they're already in pretty good shape, maybe they will lose a little too much muscle mass. That makes sense to me because they didn't eat any fat and they didn't eat any protein for X amount of days. And that's a person that doesn't have enough body.
Okay. No, what's hazardous about it is if you're pre-diabetic, if you're metabolically sick, this will make you sicker. You will have medical problems on top of the fact that you weigh too much and you have a weight problem. You'll add problems. You might get rid of some of the weight, but you're going to add serious medical problems. This is who needs to be warned about this diet. Certain people can do it, use it as a tool for a very short period of time, because they use other things that are sometimes worse, like Ozempic, and there's a lot of things that people do because they're desperate to lose weight. And I understand, because I was 100 pounds overweight and I would have tried anything. I would have done this, but you have to look at how sick the nation is, not just how fat. The fatness and the sickness go hand in hand. But again, if you're creating medical problems for yourself, be careful with this. That's my big criticism of him, because I believe, I know people are losing weight with this, but don't make yourself sicker. That's something a lot of times you can't come back from. And I mean, imagine if you had someone who's diabetic and they don't know it, or pre-diabetic, you're going to feel terrible with this diet. It's going to make you feel awful. And then you might end up going to the hospital, to be fair. Like, your sugar's going to go through the roof, possibly. You're going to push yourself from the pre-diabetic to the diabetic. arena, that's not good. So I think, overall, at least he's more, he's honest about a lot of things when it comes to this, and he's seems to be very straightforward. So I give him credit for that.
Fat on them to protect their muscle mass. But what about people that are 100 pounds overweight or 200 pounds overweight?
So, and he's focusing on how much muscle you lose as being the primary risk. He needs to put a disclaimer and say, look, you need to know whether or not you're pre-diabetic, are you metabolically sick, or your markers out of whack? Because if they are, do not do this. Let me know your thoughts on all of this. And again, I am not advocating the sugar diet. Or let me rephrase, the sugar fast or the sugar diet. I'm not advocating for that, because I don't believe scientifically and common sense and all of my experience watching all these diets unfold through the years and looking at what we know so far. We don't know everything about our metabolic systems. We do not. If anybody tells you they do, they're full of crap. But for what we know, I think it's in general kind of a bad idea. But again, certain people can use this as a tool, and I think it's fine. My recommendation to him is add those warnings to these people and say, hey, you might be, if you're that big, if you're that fat and you got to lose weight, check your markers, kind of look into your metabolic health before you start this, because you could be making yourself a lot worse off. That's my basic criticism. But let me know what you think. Add a comment. Let me know if you think this is insane, it's crazy, he's nuts, or if you think it's a great tool, or if you want to try it, or I don't know, just your thoughts on it, especially if you've experienced it. If you actually did this diet fast, again, I keep calling it a diet. If you did this type of fast and you found good results or whatever, or bad results, or I don't know, it sent you to the hospital, let me know, because I'm very interested. So I hope this helps inform you of this sugar fast, not diet. And if you guys like the video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you want to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.